Fans First Sports Network listeners and football fans. Welcome to another episode of the Call Sheet Breakdowns. This is Kevin Smith, your podcast host here at FFSN and writer for the Steel Curtain Network, head football coach of the Ocean City Red Raiders in Ocean City, New Jersey, bringing you these breakdowns annually on the Pittsburgh Steelers YouTube channel and now doing them for the Fans First Sports Network YouTube channel. And we're going to do a new feature here over the next couple of weeks with these call sheet breakdowns, a one-play feature where we're going to take every playoff game in the NFL playoffs and we're going to look at one play that summarized that game or perhaps best defined or explained the outcome of that game. It'll be a pretty cool feature. Have an opportunity to really just look at every game in the NFL, bounce around and get a good look at some of the defining features of each. But we're going to start today with a one-play breakdown from the national championship game, Michigan's 34-13 victory over the Washington Huskies last Monday night, in which Michigan largely dominated the game on the ground. The Wolverines rushed for 303 yards, averaged 8 yards per carry, ran for 4 touchdowns. Washington kept the game close. Michigan didn't pull away until the second part of the fourth quarter. But the way that Michigan dominated up front, it never really felt like that outcome was in doubt. The Wolverines were great up front on both sides of the ball, and especially so on offense, where, again, 303 rushing yards, a title game record. And how did they do it? Well, they did it by being just better up front than the Huskies, but they also did it with some really nice scheme work. And in particular, what we're going to look at here, the one play we're going to look at here is Michigan's touchdown in the middle of the fourth quarter on a 12-yard run by Blake Corum that puts him up 27-13 on a counter gap play. The scheme itself is fairly ordinary. It's counter gap. But what Michigan does here with their shifting and their pre-snap motion was representative of one of the ways in which they really kind of had Washington confused all night long. The Wolverines were masterful in their use of pre-snap movement, motion, shifts, etc., to get Washington misaligned or out of their run fits. And you see a great example of that on this touchdown run by Corum. So let's start with this. Michigan puts trips in a bunch set into the boundary. Okay, so as you can see here, here's three. The third guy's a little bit hidden. He's tucked in there. But here's three Michigan eligibles in a bunch set into the boundary. Why is it significant that it's into the boundary? Because in college, the hash marks are wider than they are in the pros, which gives offenses an opportunity to attack the width of the field. They got a lot of width to work with to the wide side. And defenses will often set their strength to that wide side as a result. But when Michigan puts their strength into the boundary, the Huskies have to decide if they're going to declare strength to Michigan's strength or if they're going to declare strength to the boundary. And you can kind of see these defensive tackles talking about it. That's your 3-tech and your 1-tech tackle. And they're kind of in a discussion about, are they kicking to an over front? Are they staying in an under? I mean, almost out of the gate, the alignment creates a problem for Washington. And then Michigan makes it a little bit harder on the Huskies by doing this. Now they flip everybody, and that whole bunch kicks over, all right? And so now they're in a completely different alignment with all three of the eligibles on the other side. Now they're to the wide side. Here you see them all right here. And the Huskies now are forced to communicate once again. Again, look at all the communication going on with Washington, right? You see right here in the middle of your screen, the linebacker talking to the safety. This is a corner right here, okay? This is the corner who was originally lined up over here. And as the bunch moved, he bumped all the way over. This safety bumped down. There's a ton of moving pieces on Washington's defense. Michigan's ready to snap the ball, and the Huskies are not yet set or focused. Their linebackers still communicating with their safeties. We'll rewind it one more time. Let's go back real quick and look at how this transpires. Look at all the moving pieces on Michigan there, right? There's so much going on there, and it's going to get them messed up as we run counter gap back into the short side, and there goes Blake Corum for the touchdown. All right, let's scheme it out for you guys so you can see what Michigan did again. They get Washington to bump all the way over. They get everybody moving, and then they run a fairly basic counter gap scheme. And in this counter gap scheme, it starts with the center blocking back on the 1-tech tackle. You get a double team here from the guard and tackle. On the 3-tech, that double is going to work to the backside backer. All right, you get a guard pulling and kicking out. So he's going to kick the edge player. All right, yeah, and then you're going to get a backside wrap from the H-back. The H-back number 89 right here. He's going to wrap up to the play side linebacker. You get a little seal there and a seal there. Blake Corum, little jab step. And now he's just going to follow his H-back 89 up into the hole. But the problem for Washington, as you can see, is because of the way that they've rotated here, they got one dude to set the edge. There he is, number 40. He's the edge setter, and he's the only guy. There's nobody outside of him. All the help now has kicked to the field. So he's got the dual challenge of taking on the lead block and then also trying to set the edge and not let anything get outside of him. Usually you got two players that are going to do that, and Washington doesn't have this. So again, as we run the play, right, here you see Washington's just short. They're short to the short side of the field. They don't have enough dudes out there. Touchdown, Corum. Washington kind of makes this even a little bit more complicated with the strategy that they use off of the edge. The edge player, 46, I called him number 40 a second ago, 46. What the edge player does is he's in a spill technique. So a spill technique is one where he comes hard down inside to try to blow up the trap block and force the back to bounce. He's trying to get Corum to bounce this thing wide, where now the Huskies can run it down with their second level players. But the problem is this. Usually when you use a spill technique, you got a defender in much better position to run that down. Usually you'll have, like, let's say a strong safety right here who can come down and meet the back. But as you can see here, what Washington's got is they've got the spill from the edge, and then the trackers, the guy designed to run that down, they got to come inside out. And that gives them a bad angle to Corum. So as the play starts here, again, you're going to see them have a tough time tracking this play. And as they track it, as Corum cuts up back inside here, right, then they got blockers on him. Corum works back inside. Here's your two edge setters. Or I'm sorry, not edge setters. Here's your two defenders who have to run Corum down. And they got to deal with all that clutter in their face, right? Again, clutter up here. He's covered up here. Michigan's got a hat on a hat. And Washington has chosen to spill, but they're not spilling it to an unblocked defender. You almost always try to spill to an unblocked defender. And here, everybody's covered up on the Washington defense. And again, Corum's just going to cut that back and cruise into the end zone. One more time from the top. Beautiful counter gap design here from Michigan that starts by trading their bunch, getting Washington misaligned, screwing up their run fits. Blake Corum just has to run through an arm tackle, and he's into the end zone. So the Michigan Wolverines, right? One play that defines their 34-13 win over the Washington Huskies, featuring their use of pre-snap shift and motion to mess with Washington's alignment. They did it masterfully all night. Congratulations to Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan staff. All right, that's our one play breakdown of the NCAA championship game. And tune back in next week when we do these one play breakdowns of every NFL playoff game. Can't wait. It's going to be exciting. This is Kevin Smith for the Call Sheet Breakdowns. Take care, everybody.